Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session titled AI Levels of Interaction. I'm Romina Levels, and today we are embarking on an exciting journey about the world of AI and the ways we can interact with it. We will explore four distinct levels, each representing a step up in sophistication and control. We're going to go from basic prompting to advanced local development. These levels offer different benefits and definitely have different challenges. But I want to show you what you can do with AI and how to get started. There's a lot to cover. And if you're interested in going deeper, I have a course called Zero to Hero AI in Writing, and I invite you to check it out. My goal today is to provide you with a solid overview of ways you can engage with AI, tailoring your approach to your needs and to your expertise. So let's get started and begin with the first of these four levels of interaction, which is prompting. This is where most people start their AI adventure, and it's far more nuanced than you might initially think. Mastering prompting is a bit like learning a new language. And I know I'm talking to language people. It has its own patterns, best practices, and subtleties. So, one key aspect is specificity and clarity. For those of you who don't know me, I come from the plain language space. Plain language is an approach to communication that uses wording, structure, and design tailored to the communication goals and the audience at hand to boost comprehension and performance. So, the cornerstone of effective prompting is being specific and clear in your requests so that the AI can fulfill those needs better. When you ask an AI chatbot a direct question or you feed it a statement for feedback, this is called zero shot prompting. And this is because you sort of catch the AI off guard, and to warm it up a little bit to the needs and the style that you want, you can use few shot prompting, which gives the AI a little bit of context about your communication goals and your audience. And this is sometimes done in the form of the style you want the AI to adopt as an author, the voice, formal, informal, conversational, etc. And an important aspect here is that you can have system-wide prompts or create roles of personas for the conversation with the AI that are done in the settings area of the AI interfaces. For example, in ChatGPT. So one thing to know here is that these personas are baked into all of your interactions. So this is great, for instance, for staff writers to maintain consistency. And you also want to break down the tasks that you want the AI to do. You can provide examples about what you're trying to do, and you can provide explanations around what you're trying to do. If you want to create images, you want to give the AI context about the background, the lighting, the colors, the style, etc. So, for example, let's give ChatGPT the following prompt. Write a 500-word informative article about cholesterol for a general audience. The content should be structured as follows. It should have an introduction, defining cholesterol and the role in the body. What types of cholesterol we're going to be talking about? LDL, HDL. What are the causes of high cholesterol? So here we're going to discuss dietary and lifestyle factors. To use a consistent, clear, and concise style, avoiding medical jargon, we're going to include analogies and incorporate recent scientific findings. And these is an area where some models can go out into the internet and look for very current materials. So for the mastering of prompting, you want to have this idea of clarity, of context, and of setting up your communication goals and having your audience in mind. Now, I want you to pause and or make note of what we just talked about and go and try zero shot or few shot prompting into more than one chatbot using more than one language model. As you will hear in other sessions, it is one thing to interact with the model through an interface. And another thing, the model that you're interacting and that's doing the computations in the background. For example, OpenAI's GPT interface can access GPT 3.5, GPT 4, or if you have a paid account, O1, each of which is designed for different levels of reasoning and contextual understanding. So you can experiment with few-shot prompting by giving it examples or providing minimal instructions and seeing what comes out. Another place where you can find different models and ways of interacting with AI is Hugging Face. Again, we're going to talk about that in another session. But you can also use other models where developers have also readily available interfaces. For example, Claude from Anthropic is another chatbot offering models like Claude Haiku, which is very fast for daily tasks, Claude 3 Opus, which is good at writing and complex tasks, and 3.5, which is good for thinking through content. Perplexity AI is a fantastic tool for research, and it can also access the web. So this is called retrieval augmented generation. It's also something that I cover in depth in the course. And what's interesting is that it can do very well with minimal context when you're also giving it that prompt to go and search specific kinds of websites. So there are so many more options, but these will give you insight into the strengths and limitations of different models and what you can do with zero-shot versus few-shot prompting. Okay, so now we're going to go into projects and this second level of interaction with the AI, in which we're shifting the focus from individual prompts and sort of one moment interaction to creating projects that are going to last through time. This involves creating persistent contexts, custom instructions that will be remembered by the model over time. Custom instructions are like creating a specialized AI assistance, and they involve creating a persistent persona. We talked about personas earlier. This is the character or the voice that you want the AI to maintain through your interactions. And what's interesting is that in a project, the persona is not baked into your profile. So you can change personas from project to project. You can give it a specific rules for a specific project. And you can also talk about the output formats. You can generate text, images, tables, etc., code, even programming. I do use AI a lot for debugging my code. You can also establish a consistent terminology resource and add to it. So this is a great feature for freelance writers and translators who often need to adhere to different client or project specifications. Custom instructions might include document structure, for example. You can say create a plain language summary with clearly defined sections such as an introduction, key concepts, action steps, and resources. You can also give terminology guidelines. For example, explain complex terms with plain language wording. You can also give it formatting standards. So, for example, ensuring that you use APA citation style so that people can look up resources, that you use bullet points for lists or charts to present metrics. You can talk about the writing style. You can also talk about cultural sensitivity and ask the model to use bias-free language as delineated by the American Psychological Association. For example, these are options in a different context. For example, in a financial project, you may want to have a section about compliance and incorporating industry-specific regulatory notes. So every project can have its own set of specifications. For the context that you're giving, you can also add reference materials. You can attach files, and that will live in that project as a reference for any of the prompting that you will do within that project. And of course, projects are saved, and so you can come back to them later. So you can create projects for specific assignments. You can create projects for specific clients, for example. So this level of interaction requires strategic thinking about your process with the AI. You're no longer asking just one-off questions, but are building a comprehensive framework for ongoing collaboration. So now you can pause or make a note to go and try a project. For example, in Claude, it's a 1, 2, 3 process. You're going to, one, go to Claude and click on create a project. You're going to give it a name and a description. Then, two, you're going to set custom instructions. This is where you instruct Claude how to behave and respond in the chat that you're going to have within that project. How should Claude respond to you when crafting the answers? And three, you're going to add the reference materials that I was talking about. These are files that you can attach and are going to live within that project. Now, generative models do not usually repeat answers, but the answers will be very consistent with the same reference materials, the same prompt, and the same custom instructions. When you change any of these variables, you're going to have a different result. So I encourage you to do that, to see what happens when I add a little bit of context, what happens when I subtract context, when I take away some files, what happens when I make my instructions a little bit more robust, and see how, to find that balance that you will need for your own needs and for your own topics that you cover. Okay, now we're getting into a more involved level of interaction, our third level, in which we're tapping into the collective wisdom of the global AI community for prompting and for getting access to models outside of chatbots. Platforms like GitHub, for example, host a wealth of resources. And I'm going to use Fabric, which is a project that is hosted in GitHub, to help you understand how community-built prompts can work. The philosophy behind Fabric is that AI magnifies human creativity. So we're going to use pre-built prompts to extract ideas and use resources to our benefit and with resources that are important to us. The benefits of community prompts is that a lot of times they have been started by someone, but then a lot of other people have contributed to them. You can gain a lot of insights into how others have built prompts and their experiences. And many community prompts offer robust structures that you can build upon. Of course, there's many different use cases. So we're going to take a look at one. And before we run our example, let's go through an overview of Fabric. Fabric is an open source tool, and it has patterns which are pre-built prompts. Prompts are regularly added by people in the community. It offers a lot of versatility because it supports using different models like ChatGPT, Claude, Llama, Mistral, etc. There's a lot of use cases. You can use it to summarize videos, to transcribe podcasts, to write essays, to explain code, to refine documentation in a project that you're developing. So there's a lot of use scenarios, and different commands allow you to interact with content outside of your local environment as well, which is what we're going to do. We're going to go look at a video. It's an interview that I did with Catherine Spivey and Annetta Cheek about plain language. You can find it with the URL on screen and also with the QR code. And we're going to ask Fabric to summarize the video for us using the pattern called extract wisdom. And before using it, I would like for you to take the time to see the logic of the prompts that we're going to use. And I'm going to give you the way to access that. For this example that we're going to run, we're using a pattern called extract wisdom, which includes instructions about surprising, insightful, and interesting information, steps like creating a summary of the content in an X amount of words, including who is presenting that content and establishing that as a summary. So I want you to pause or make a note to visit the URL for the GitHub project. You can also use the QR code that I have on screen to look at all the patterns that Fabric has, and also take a look specifically at this extract wisdom pattern. The URL is specifically for that. And then we're going to resume our example. So Fabric has the ability to pull from various models via the API key, which is a code for application programming interfacing, for basically going to talk to the model, not in a chatbot. Like we said, developers often provide access to the models through an interface, and these keys, the APIs, allow you to talk to the model in a more personal way. Kind of the interfaces that developers provide are a front door, and this is kind of a backdoor entrance. Another important aspect is, of course, attribution to the people that have created the prompts that we're using. And GitHub is a great place to keep track of that. And by engaging with community prompts, you're also not only enhancing your own interactions with AI, but also participating in an effort to advance the field. So Fabric is really a great project to do that. As I said, it's a little bit more involved technically. So again, the AI in Writing Zero to Hero course will help you dive into details. But basically, for the installation process, users can install Fabric by cloning the GitHub repo and using tools like Go for the setup. So what's happening here is that we need to set up Fabric. We need to navigate to the folder where Fabric projects will live. And then we also need to feed the Fabric environment the URLs and the API keys of the models that we might want to use. Once we go through these steps, we are able to pick our default model or even change the model that we're going to use for a particular project. In this case, we're going to use ChatGPT 4o. Once we select the model, we make sure that we have the access to the external resources we need. In this case, the API key to access the YouTube video we're going to work with. And then we are able to feed Fabric the command for accessing that video and running the extract wisdom pattern. And once we do that, as you can see, the output includes a summary and lists with ideas, insights, quotes, and habits that you can read in less than 10 minutes. So this is great for sorting through material that you may not have time to address all at once. While this may feel a little bit technical, I encourage you to watch the video and read the Fabric summaries. You will find attached a PDF with two versions of summaries, one done with ChatGPT and done with another one with a different model. So to prepare for a deeper dive, if you read through both, you take notes and think about the differences between the two outputs and why you think those differences have come about. Okay, so now we arrive at the most advanced level of AI interaction that we're going to cover today, running AI models locally. This approach offers unparalleled privacy and control, but it also comes with its own set of technical challenges. So To me, privacy is a big deal. I deal with health information, so it's important for me that data never leaves my device or network. I can also work offline. I don't need an internet connection to run some of the models that I use. I can fine tune the models to my needs, and there's also a cost consideration when you interact with models through APIs. There's a cost, and so some of these models I pull are from Hugging Face, and they're open source, and so they're free. There's a consideration about computational power that is required. You may have heard talk about GPUs, graphic processing units. They're similar to CPUs or central processing units in your computers, but they were originally designed for gaming, and they accelerate the processing, the parallel processing, all the different tasks, the transformer tasks that are needed. So they're great for heavy computation. And running models locally can help you pick models that are smaller, so the computational power needed is not so big. And in fact, model selection is a great feature, flexibility that running models locally can have. And this requires thinking about performance trade-offs, but this is an interesting thing that is happening in models that are becoming slender and more efficient. You may not need a super big and costly model. Smaller models can be faster. So I will show you a run of a model called Llama 3.1, which is an open source model using a framework called Ollama, a software platform that allows you to run the language models locally. So I said this level of interaction comes with some technical challenges, and one of them is isolating your LLM to avoid conflicts. And there's different ways of doing this. You can use virtual environments with Python, or you can use a container application like Docker. In this case, I'm going to show you these with Docker. By the way, I'm running these within Visual Studio Code in what's called a Jupyter Notebook, which allows me to write code, but also write Markdown or notes so that I can tell myself what's happening. And this is great for somebody who's not a programmer like me. So while there is some technical expertise, and this is not something that you can, right away go and try, I want to emphasize that in working with health information, for example, these having done this technical learning has allowed me to use content that I wouldn't have been able to query ChatGPT about, or Claude or Gemini, because it would have meant to the web, and I couldn't do that. So as I said, I'm going to run Llama via Ollama from Docker, and we can see Ollama running within Docker if we bring up the Docker application. And we can also check for the framework running in our local host, which is literally my computer. It's like a web host, but in my local environment. And another thing that I need to do before I run a model is to look at tools that I may need to read files. In this case, I'm reading docs and PDFs. Notice that in the processing, the HTML file that I have in the folder, I have a series of research files, will be skipped because I have not yet added an HTML reader. Now, I will ask the model to read and combine the content of all the files in this folder, and I will query the model after the model reads those files and with all of the language information that it has from its own training. Based on the information in the files, act as a researcher and identify key points to contribute to this area of research. So then I have some code for making sure the process works as intended, and we can run the model. As you can see, the output includes the fact that the model skipped reading the HTML file because I didn't give it an HTML reader. And this brings to the surface processing aspects that may be hidden when you query a model online. So In this process, what you can see is that I have interacted with the language model completely on my computer. I've downloaded the model. The model is running on my local environment. So all of the files that I provided are local and nothing has gone to the cloud. So as we conclude our exploration of AI interaction levels, I hope that I have given you a taste for the unique benefits and challenges of different options. And certainly, I want to emphasize that building a strong foundation with prompting is key to build success with higher levels of interaction. I think it's great to be able to learn from others and use community built prompts. They can help you think about your own prompting. They can help you think about questions and ways of interacting that you haven't thought about before. And then as you build that confidence, you can move on to the local running of LLMs, particularly for considering privacy. So the beauty of the progression in the levels of interactions with AI is that you don't really need to master all the levels at once. You can start with basic prompting and gradually expand your capabilities as your needs and your skills grow. And you are certainly welcome to join us at AI in Writing Zero to Hero course that's going to launch in December. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you at the Q&A session. Bye.